What's
No.
Nike got that we don't? Really? What is shoe cushioning more than just a padded section of a shoe?
It's one of our key fundamentals of our footwear, and it isn't one thing. That's the thing with shoe cushioning.
Thousands and thousands of years ago, they were using things like papyrus and leather in their sandals to cushion that, which is pretty huge. The Roman Empire are actually famous for
Nike, when they were doing all their running, they outsourced their manufacturing, and they're one of the first footwear companies in America to do that. The other footwear companies lobbied the government to tariff them.
One of the misconceptions is if something's really soft and spongy, it's great. It's going to be better than something that's harder, and I think that's one of the important things. Is sometimes
Welcome to the Comfort Walk and Talk, where every step towards comfort is a step towards a healthier you.
We're your hosts,
Jeff,
Alana.
And Ben.
together, let's transform our lives from the ground up.
Welcome back to another episode of the Comfort Walk and Talk. I'm your host, Ben. I'm here with Alana and Jeff.
Hello.
Hey Ben.
And
Lance.
today we're going to be talking about shoe cushioning. Now, when I think shoe cushioning, that's just some pillows in your shoes. That's something that makes it a bit more comfortable when you put on. But there's a lot more to it than just that traditionally comfy pair of shoes. There's a lot of health benefits, and done right, a properly cushioned shoe makes all the difference. So in this episode, we're going to go through exactly what shoe cushioning is, the technologies behind it, where it's come from, a bit of a brief history, and the benefits that it's doing to you as well. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. So your cushioning, it does enhance your comfort throughout the day, but what is it? What is shoe cushioning more than just a padded section of a shoe?
It's one of our key fundamentals of our footwear, and it isn't one thing. That's the thing with shoe cushioning. I mean, it's basically providing enough cushioning to provide you a really comfortable ride, and sometimes harder could be better than softer. That's the real tricky bit. A lot of it's dependent on the person and what they want and what their activity is.
So whether it just sort of shapes into your foot versus whether it's actually that cushion, like the softness, the cloud that you were talking about, can be around the outside of the shoe to make sure that you're not getting blistering, or that your foot's comfortable in the shoe. It can be underneath on the insole to make sure that you've got some nice padded walking. It just really depends on the shoe and the function.
I always like my cushioning like a little padded bit around the collar, so that when you get that, it's much you don't get your little blisters, that kind of the scrape against the edge of your foot. That's probably my favourite. But a big part of your shoe cushioning is shock absorption, right?
Yes.
You'd think shoe cushioning, you wouldn't think that your sole of your shoe actually makes a big difference there. That's where we're talking about your cushioning too. So built into the rubber down the bottom.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean, if you think about it, and it's a little bit related to a number of even with arch support, but with cushioning, you think about the last 100 years, people are walking on hard surfaces and tiles and all of that. And the reality is that if you don't have something that buffers it, you're going straight thud onto a hard surface. So a lot of the aspects of cushioning is, whereas if you're walking on more softer surfaces, it does provide you some buffering. But that's the reality, is that running on hard surfaces or running on the road, you need to have something that buffers.
I actually did a bit of research on this one leading into the episode. Is every step you take, you get, I think it's 2 times your body weight impact every single step.
3 actually.
If you're running, it's up to 4, which is huge. And you think about that, if you're being a good little health nut and getting your 10,000 steps a day like we recommend, that is 10,000 times a day that your feet cop the impact of that, 2 times your body weight. And that, over time, I know your feet are built for it, over time can do you a lot of damage. So that shoe cushioning is really important. You did mention that it's, over the last 100 years, but shoe cushioning, the history of it actually goes far, far further back than that.
Yes.
So there is actually evidence of the ancient Egyptians.
Yeah.
So we're talking thousands and thousands of years ago. They were using things like papyrus and leather in their sandals to cushion that.
Yeah.
Which is pretty huge. And then you move on to, I did do a bit of a deep dive into the history as well. I thought this was quite funny. Is the Roman Empire are actually famous for having walked a long way. They did a lot of conquest, but also developing roads. So when they developed roads, they could obviously move a lot faster, a lot quicker throughout their expansion, but they found because it was that hard surface, they were copping a lot of issues. And so they were one of the first civilizations to properly add real shoe cushioning within their shoes. Things like your cork and wool for shock absorption.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So could you say that shoe cushioning was the leading cause of the Roman Empire's success?
Or failure. I mean, it's not around anymore, is it?
So interestingly enough, in the next part of history, after the Roman Empire fell, so did shoe cushioning.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
You're such a dude bringing it back to the Roman
bring it back
Empire.
to the Roman Empire. I can't help it. I'm thinking about the Roman Empire at least 100 times a day.
But it's not funny though. It's not a silly concept that a simple problem they did resolve, and that was a massive technology shift.
Yeah.
Exactly. They were able to outmaneuver their enemies thanks to having some nice cushy feet. They also had arch support in their shoes as well. Which,
you go.
Shoe technology, build your empire with some shoe tech. I'm telling you what.
With the ancient Roman Empire. There you go.
So that moved on to the Dark Ages after that. And I don't know if you've heard of a turn shoe before.
No.
No.
So this is the type of shoes they had after that, which basically they stitched together two pieces of leather around someone's foot, and then why it was called a turn shoe is they would turn it, flip it inside out so that the seam was on the inside of the shoe, again, taking away from that comfort but making it more durable. And so people were literally walking around with just a leather sack on their feet for hundreds
With
and
a
hundreds of
stitch
years.
on the inside.
With a stitch on the
That
inside.
must have been so uncomfortable.
It must have been awful, and that's why they called it the Dark Ages.
Yeah, no, it was dark. Jeez.
It all goes back to shoe tech, guys. It really does. But yeah, so luckily after that, we move into our 17th and 18th century. Not much happened before that, but then they started doing your stacked leather soles after that. So shoemaking became more of a thing. It wasn't people just stitching together leather to try and save their feet from the elements. It was actual getting back into your shoe technology. So your stacked leather soles. Mm-hmm. And going a bit more into the history, I will a bit, I promise. But in 1839, a man called Charles Goodyear was obsessed with rubber. Really weird thing to be obsessed about for me. Super weird. I mean, whatever, you do you. But he actually invented vulcanized rubber, which changed the world, but in specifically shoes forever with your vulcanized rubber, because now vulcanized rubber has everything to do with it.
What is vulcanized rubber?
So before, rubber wasn't rubber how we know it today. It was a different kind of softer material there, not much in the way of usage for it. So he mixed rubber and mercury, accidentally fell on his stove at his house. And it was that big eureka moment, like, oh, wow, look at this. This is now this durable, bouncy material. And it was rubber as we know it. So Goodyear, obviously you know from Goodyear tyres, funnily enough, not founded by Mr. Charles Goodyear. It was named in his honour. Charles Goodyear died penniless.
Right.
That's horrible. He didn't give any of the money back to his family. His family still, he invented the rubber, but it's like, yeah, thanks, mate, cheers.
You know, it's funny. I used to work in the tyre industry, and for a long time I used to think Goodyear meant have a good year.
Have a good year.
So I used to think that's a good name for a brand, isn't it?
A good year because tyres last about a year.
No, I like it. It's that double meaning. Why not? Why not? He invented his vulcanized rubber, and that's also used in tyres and was the birthplace of your things, your athletic shoes.
It's heated up, isn't it? Rubber's, it's heated up.
Yeah,
That's what
so
vulcanised-
with little bits of mercury in it. So it's funny that it just happened by accident. The amount of these just world-changing inventions, like, whoops, oh, shit. How good is that? Yeah, there you go.
But like how the wheels started, really, isn't it? I mean, that'd be an interesting story one day to find out.
Just rolled down the hill one day. I was like, hey, wait a minute. We could do that too. Just a bit of a sidebar here that the microwave was invented by accident. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
They were working on the atomic bomb. And all the radiation and everything. They invented the microwave by accident.
Yes.
Okay.
It was meant to blow up, but it made their pizza hot again. So there you go. But yeah, so after that came the 1970s. And now this is another thing that people before the generation wouldn't really be aware about. But people did not run before the 70s. Your running was based for kids or your professional athletes. There were no joggers.
So no recreational.
No recreational running.
Right.
You didn't go out.
Take me back.
Yeah, back to a simpler time. And it was funny. They had one of the guys. So after in the 70s, that all changed. Recreational jogging became a thing. It was the start of what we know today, with help from things like the New York Marathon. Started at that time as well, which was one of our original marathons around the world. And so people were training for that. But there was a guy that wrote a book about everything he knows about running and all of that. And he mentions multiple times, so before the running boom, he would get pulled over by cops being like, what are you running from? This is
right.
like this is really strange. You're just out here running. Like, why are you running? Like,
Yeah.
are you playing tag with your kids or what? What's
Yeah.
happening? Like, are you a football player? What's going on? You don't seem like it. You're all skinny. What's happening there? And so there you have your big athletic shoe companies, and this is the start of shoe cushioning as we know it today. So things like your EVA, your PU, but the big innovation first came from Nike, and this is where they kind of cemented their place as the kings of athletic footwear. And this is why, is because one of the founders, again, maybe by accident, he swears he didn't, but maybe by accident, poured some rubber on his wife's waffle iron to make the waffle trainer.
Yeah.
Yes. I've actually read Phil Knight's book. The CEO,
there you go.
And I read that. The guy was like a bit of a crazy runner, just loved the technology, and he did the waffle thing. Which is really cool, yeah.
There you go.
Made him really light. Yeah.
Because it was, less dense, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's
you
just
can- you
draw
can
back
spread
on
it
that.
out.
I mean, you think about what was before that, though, was really shoes like the Converse and
Yes.
they actually started with an Asics Tiger. I think Tiger, one of the Asics brands out of Japan was the Tiger, but they're very, very thin, flat soles, very low profile.
Yeah.
So that was really what you were offered before the running, boom. So it's interesting where that invention took them to actually think they can build thicker soles.
Yeah.
Because it would have been ugly at one stage. A thicker sole would have been considered, that's really quite wacky,
Yeah.
a bit strange,
And now it's all the trends, isn't it? You see the shoes
Well,
coming around.
the thicker the better.
Yeah,
some-
cushioning. I mean, that's what we're talking about, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's cushioning.
Yeah,
It's
there's a little bit of pushback to the low profile, but I mean the thick sole revolution is pretty amazing, really, when you think that it's only really quite young.
Yeah. It's literally just in the 70s. So what's that? Just a bit over 50 years that we've had proper athletic shoes. People have been running, and it's gotten more popular. It hasn't got popular with everyone. There's some people sitting right here that don't like running still, but anyway.
Just as another sidebar, very topical, Nike, when they were doing all their running, they outsourced their manufacturing, and they're one of the first footwear companies in America to do that.
True.
And so the other footwear companies lobbied the government to tariff it. So very
There
topical.
you
They
go.
have very high tariffs for shoes coming into the US, and then they
Yeah.
had to fight that, and they got through it. And they obviously all the footwear now is pretty much outsourced to Asia.
That's wild.
And
No, they were the first ones.
very topical, as you say, reversing
Very
that.
topical.
Maybe in another episode we'll deep dive that one.
Yeah,
eh?
yeah,
See how we go there. But with Nike there, they definitely weren't the only players in the game. You get, as you say, they weren't the first runners.
Adidas was probably one of the
Adidas
first.
was huge.
They
Yeah.
had the basketball community at one stage, yeah.
And your Converse and your Chuck Taylors
Yeah.
and things like that. But after that started the cushioning tech wars.
Yeah.
Which was, so Nike had their waffle trainer, they were riding high, they were having a great time, but the other companies needed to invent more to stay relevant.
Yeah.
And it's the same today. That's why we work so hard on our research and development within our shoes, because if you don't, someone else will come up with the new latest, greatest thing and whatever and blow you out of the water. So we had ASICS in 1986 with the ASICS gel.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that there is now pretty much stock standard, isn't it? Is your silicon-based gel within runners to really cop that impact.
It's very visual. So a lot of it's about gel, EVA, how there's obviously some improvement, but it's visual. They can say there's a piece of gel.
There
Yes.
it
Or
is.
there's the ear in Nike or
Yeah.
whatever.
And it's funny you should say that, actually, because now the trend is to hide that technology. So when these tech wars came out, so I was going to go and talk about the Nike Air.
Yeah.
You can pump up your trainers with the thing, and that was a status symbol, wasn't it? I'm ready to
don't
go.
remember those.
Do you not?
No.
The little was it Nike or was it Reebok? The ones.
I think it was
Nike-
Reebok. I think Nike Air was just subtly saying there was air bubbles in the
Yeah,
the
it was
shoe.
just so light.
And it was a
reflective,
great
wasn't it?
easy marketing.
Yeah, I remember
It
those.
was
Yeah.
easy marketing saying people could visualize air, same as you could visualize gel. The
And
pump-
then was it Adidas that had the foam? And so they had was it bounce
Yeah.
technology?
well, that was the
It's
first special
torsion
foam.
and adiprene.
okay.
That was the
is
first
like all
special
that's-
foam. I mean, EVA is a foam.
Yeah.
It was just the advances in the foam.
It was the race to trademark
Technology,
names
yeah.
and technologies. It was
Yeah.
the wars. Very interesting in the shoe industry.
Very interesting, very interesting. They had the space race going on with the
Yes.
running race.
Yeah.
That, was
Running
the,
race.
that was the more important one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you had kind of New Balance taking it a little bit further along the way, which I feel made the transition into where we are today. So they were the first real company to really focus on your biomechanics, your stability, and really, in a way, corner that dad shoe market, which they
and
still
fit,
sort of do.
right? I mean, they
fit
have multiple widths. They have all the lengths, and so they were really
They
focused
were
on
a
getting
big-
a shoe that fit.
They were a big proponent. They did leverage with the foot health professionals a lot.
Yes.
Exactly.
And
So-
you're right about the dad shoe. I mean, in fact, that's coming back now too. The whole idea of
Yeah.
where they're building leather, dad shoes on their athletic outsoles. But
Yeah. You can see a pair of dad shoes on Billie Eilish, like it's wild. There
You're wearing
go.
a pair of dad shoes
Oh,
today.
right now, in fact. Yeah, absolutely. And so, we can kind of go from that into cushioning as it stands today. So the running tech wars are still going today. There's still
it's the only way that they can go. I mean, the secret of success in running shoes is marketing. I mean, uppers and uppers and uppers, but it's all about marketing. It's all about things that capture the consumer's attention.
Yeah.
Whether it be about cushioning or other aspects.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
we can all think off the top of our heads all the trademarks that we can, like Flyknit and Add a Boost or whatever it is. They've got all the marketing terms for, technologies that are used in other types of shoes as
Exactly.
well. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just their own special take of it.
That's right.
It was around the turn of the millennium, the 2000s, that people realised that this cushioning isn't just beneficial within running shoes.
Yeah.
It should be in all shoes. You can get a lot of benefits from that today. So things for your cushioning today is just engineered for your shock absorption, your stability, energy return as well. So the bounce back. Which has been more of a recent kind of invention.
It is because the EVA bottoms out. That's the thing. The problem with EVA is that after 6 months, or they say running shoe, if you're running in a shoe, it should only last maximum of 6 months. The reason is because it's bottoming out. It's compressing and doesn't come back.
Yeah.
So that's where some of the advances have been, as you say, is the bounce back type scenario.
Instead of, taking that 2 to 4 times your body weight and just kind of cushioning the blow, you're launching into your next step instead.
Exactly.
Which seems funny because that still falls under the umbrella term cushioning.
Yes.
Which I wouldn't think of that as cushioning. It was more like springing, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's a bit
You got a cushion to spring.
Cush to spring.
It's funny too because that technology actually almost says that the shoe should last longer too. So it's a little bit counterproductive to the industry. You might want to sell 2 pairs of shoes a year. The shoes might start to last
You're
longer.
not saying that people we're like Apple, where we try and make shoes that don't last longer than a year.
Just don't update your shoes after a year, guys. Just skip that up.
It's funny. It's a funny again experience in the tyre industry was that the problem with tyres in the 80s was they lasted too bloody long.
Yeah, that's why it was Goodyear. It was a year-long tyre program.
So the tyres that come out really the low profile ones, the
Yeah.
really thin ones. I don't know what they're called, 45 or something like that. They come out. One of the reasons is because they last half the time. They cost twice the price and they last half the distance. What a great formula.
Marketing.
Have you just given away some trade secrets there, mate?
I'm not in the tyre industry now.
Yeah,
but
your
this-
NDA's
I
run out,
would-
has it?
Wouldn't it be nice if we could do that to shoes? Sorry. I mean,
You heard it here first, but it's the expose.
low profile. Remember, if you see low profile, okay, they're really trying to sell me the stuff that's going to last half as long.
We don't do that
No, we
as a
don't.
company. We just to really push that one out there.
Resilient and durable outsoles, I think, is one of our
Absolutely.
ethoses.
And we do a lot of work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we put in the research to all the shoes that we produce and absolutely everyone that we work with. That cushioning serves a purpose.
Yes.
It's in the right spot, whatever those shoes are for, that you will be cushioned in the right place. If it's a running shoe, that you're going to have that rebound where you want, or particular impact zones. Can you go into a bit of how we do that, how we monitor that within the shoes that we make?
Well, I think the first thing I said it actually at the beginning there is one of the real misconceptions is if something's really soft and spongy, it's great. It's going to be better than something that's harder. And I think that's one of the important things is sometimes it's better to be a little bit firmer but have that cushion. Cushioning can be a buffer. You think it's better to sort of cushion but provide stability, and so there's a real balance. So that's one thing is that. So you see a lot of the athletic shoes, and even normal shoes. What they do is they build outsoles that combine certain features, certain parts. So you have the soft or the cushioning piece, the EVA material or whatever, but then you might also have what they call an internal or external shank. And we've talked about shanks before, but basically these are harder pieces that provide stability in the right place. Sometimes it might be better for a particular running shoe to have a harder piece on the inside and a softer piece on the outside. So there's a lot of thought needs to be given into the application of the shoe.
Yeah, it's definitely really, really, really important because of those health benefits as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different shoes for different purposes, and we do talk about that a lot because we've already talked about the reduction of that impact. That's probably your first things first. What is most important about your cushion shoes.
Yeah.
But then there's things like your alignment gets improved. That's kind of what you were talking about before. So depending on your different purposes, you can put something on the outside, on the inside,
Exactly.
this, that, whatever.
And things like memory cushion as well. As per its name, it has a memory. So you're moulding it as you walk to your foot, which can improve alignment and provide that bit of arch support in there.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Which is funny with your memory cushion. It's one of those pairs of shoes that feels incredible from the jump, but gets better and better and better as it goes along. And you wouldn't really say it as breaking it in because they start terrific. But then just all of a sudden it's like a warm hug in that shoe and you're having a great time, aren't you? So,
but one of the big advances, again, we talked a little bit about the, I think Adidas started with that special foam, which is really an advanced sort of EVA but foam material. And one of the things that we're seeing in a lot of the shoes now that we're making is a move towards that. The reason is because it does keep its shape a lot longer, right? We're starting to put a lot of that special foam into our walkers and runners, which is basically the idea is it rebounds like 50% more, often those sort of numbers, than the traditional EVA material. And again, it's all about providing the mix between stability and cushioning, which is one of the real balances. And you also mentioned about normal shoes, your more casual shoes. And I think it's probably one of the biggest implications is the athletic shoe industry has innovated cushioning across the range, across the broad brush. And in fact, when someone's trying on a shoe in the store, one of the first things they want to feel is the cushioning.
yeah.
That almost is the buying decision. If your shoe doesn't have cushioning, if it's hard underfoot, often it's a reason not to buy.
Yeah.
There's an expectation, and it's funny how that's become an expectation, but it's true.
You just wouldn't buy an uncomfy pair of shoes anymore, would
No,
you?
that's right.
We've come too far. We're not in the dark ages anymore, guys.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we've moved on. We've had our renaissance.
I mean, cushioning just on the mix, it's really lucky times because you've got two parts to the cushioning equation now. You've got the outsole, the bottom of the shoe, that bit there and all that, but then you've also got the insole. And you combine both, and it's like it's on steroids because and that's something that we do a lot of, and it's less so in the more the some of the well-known athletic brands because what they typically do is they focus on the outsole, and then they put a nice thin bit in the inside. But we do both, and it really they just leverage off each other, in terms of cushioning, And again, you can have harder insole or softer insole, but depends on the application.
I find that the big difference there is that a lot of your brands are going that in their marketing efforts this is performance. This is performance. You'll be able to cut, half a second off your running time, or you'll be able to do this. But where we focus, we think your performance is being able to get out and perform in the first place.
Yeah.
So we don't want to cut that. If you take an extra second over the 100 meters, that's but you're probably not sprinting, but that's completely fine. But it's getting you out there and doing the 100 meters
in the first
today,
place.
tomorrow, and the day after that is that consistency, and that's kind of what we build our shoes for, specifically with brands like Vitasol.
Yeah.
Is that. It's not about crossing the finish line a second earlier. It's about getting to the starting line.
Yeah.
Which is something that I really like as someone that used to be athletic and it isn't really anymore. Let's be real. But like that to be able to get out and do something and not have that pressure, because I don't care. If I were to run a marathon, I do not give a shit about that time. It would be about me getting
Just
over that
finishing.
line.
And I think it's a really good point about if you just think there's two, you think, okay, harder or softer cushioning, all right? Depending. If you think for someone that's really not orientated about performance or going for a marathon or even going for runs, just so they want to get out and about. You want to give them something that when they put the shoe on for the first time, it feels luxurious. And it motivates them to get out there and about. Because the biggest thing is motivating someone to go out there and walk or be active. And so that's why I think softer is good in that situation. And then obviously we always say that, you go a little bit harder and supportive when someone wants to get a bit more performance orientated.
Yeah.
Because they're putting a bit more weight on it, they need to keep the body shape, they need a bit of stability and all that. But again, that's one of the nice things is you can have different varieties for different
shoes for different purposes. Yeah, absolutely. It's all about innovating as well. Like, and we're doing a lot here to innovate just recently. So things like your yak leather. Is a new one. This is more of a lining, but you could kind of put it into cushioning because of its
softness.
It's softness. Yeah.
It is. It molds to the shape of the foot. I mean, that's the whole area. We'll get into a whole discussion on fit at some point in another one of these episodes. But it's a big part of that equation. Is in the fit.
Listeners, if you don't know about your yak leather, we have recently just implemented a bunch of, and off the cuff sounds a little bit odd, but wait until you've touched this stuff. Oh my Lord, it is buttery soft, night and day better than what we were using before. More durable, and just super pleasant. If you hear yak and go a little like, oh, what the hell? Just like, honestly, touch it. Come into one of our stores, feel that, and you will lose your mind.
And that's the reality, is because it's a very durable, material, you can make it really quite thin. And it's very, very hard wearing and durable. So, it's not that, we've all worn or bought shoes that are quite thick leather, and that's what doesn't give so much. That's the idea. It's a balance between durability and thinness, but, it's a very, very luxurious material.
Yeah, I love it. And you kind of did touch on it before, was that the new tech we're using for EVA. So EVA in itself is a wonder tech. Like that is a wild material. And the fact that we've done more. Yeah. Well, what's it called?
ETPA, which is
ETPA.
Basically it's like 50% more rebound. So EVA gives you amazing cushioning, but sometimes it drops and then stays there. This one bounces back.
Right? Kangaroo shoes. Finally, we did it, guys.
So it's very important to have the right sort of stability built into it. So they become a bit more complex, those shoes, but they're really worth it in terms of the experience.
And there's is all in our Icarus, aren't they?
Icarus, the new one that's coming out in a couple of months'
time. The Vitasol running shoe. We're throwing our hat into the wars there, guys. We're declaring war on Nike.
We're not declaring war.
Well,
what's Nike got that we don't? Really?
We really much, I mean, with all of our shoes, we focus on just everyday activity. So we would call that a jogger, right? We have a walker, and then we call that a jogger. Just to say, if you want to go jogging, just throw it on every day. It's not about, but it's an amazing shoe that, again, with that new material.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about cushioning, this pretty much has it all. It has the cushioned outsole, has the cushion around the heel, what we were talking about with the blistering, cushioning under the tongue, because sometimes tongues can be quite rough on the top of your foot, and then it has that really good Vitasol insole, which is supportive and cushioned. So
I love that.
Seems like it would just be plush when you put it on.
And the carbon fibre shank as well, don't it?
Yeah, that's the support. Yeah, so you can actually see the shank in this one here. You can see through to the shank. We're doing a little bit of posturing with our technology, but it's very
probably
good
our
shoe.
longest development. It's taken about a year to get that shoe right.
Very exciting.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Well, yeah, that's our time for today. We hope you've learned something about shoe cushioning. It's not just the pillows in your shoe. There's so much more to it. There's a lot of health benefits around it. If your shoes aren't comfortable and cushioned, you know where to come. It's the Comfort Co. Thank you so much. We will see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Comfort Walk and Talk by the Comfort Co. If you like this episode and you got something out of it, we would love your support with a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Don't forget to subscribe on your favourite channels and never miss a step on your journey to comfort.
Please follow us for more insights and updates on the Comfort Co social media channels. Until the next episode, see you later.